Well, drive time people, here she is. 2008 M3 V8 manual transmission. Pretty good car, pretty nice mileage actually. Right now, flip it over to the screen for you guys. Getting 21.9 average miles per gallon. You might say that is pretty weak, but the reality is it's a 400 horsepower V8. What kind of mileage do you expect? Pretty neat car. Some of your fans right now are probably saying, why isn't he driving the SMG car? Well, I prefer the manual transmission over the SMG quite a bit. It's a little smoother. It's definitely more of a purist feel to it than the SMG. That it shifts horribly, and you can drive it as an automatic, but it's no good as an automatic. You can drive it as a stick, but it's clumsy as a stick. The only place that car fits in is at the track. The manual transmission car, sure, it's slower 0 to 60, but is it a smoother all-around car? Yeah, absolutely. You can see this car's pretty well equipped, as the video I just turned around showed you. The one thing that strikes me for the M3 that kind of strikes me as odd is that there's nothing special on the inside of this car. If you'll remember, a week ago I posted up a 335i with the sport appearance package on the inside. That car had almost the same interior. The one thing that this car offers on the interior that car does not, this magic button right there, the M dynamic mode button, and when you hit it, illuminates two lights on the dash, MDM for M dynamic mode, and then the circular M showing that you've illuminated the full settings. It also illuminates these buttons right here, giving the EDC and power modes on. Power mode basically gives you supposedly more horsepower, but the main thing I notice is as soon as I push it, if my throttle is in one position, it immediately lurches forward a little bit, gives that throttle pedal more sensitivity, which for a track situation when you're steering the car with the rear end and using power to steer is obviously a benefit. This car is nice to drive. I mean, right now I'm getting 22.5 miles a gallon, which is pretty impressive for a 400 horsepower V8. It's smooth. Yeah, it's a little noisy, but it needs new rear tires. Go figure. It's a 400 horsepower V8. So somebody obviously before me set a couple land speed records or whatever. One thing I noticed about this car, and as you noticed with yesterday's vlog with the 911, everybody flies up on me and then flies past me. They do the standard Ricer flyby in their crappy Jettas. Maybe they think they got one over on the guy, Mr. Business Suit or whatever, in his really nice M3. I really don't know the whole deal behind it, but I can tell you that I have not run across a car yet that's done the flyby on me that this car couldn't just absolutely manhandle. The one thing this car does that's really neat, it actually reminds me a lot about of tuned up Ford small blocks. Technician and I were talking about it today. This thing revs to the frickin' moon. If you look at the tachometer right there, that red line is at $8,000. Absolutely ludicrous for V8s in most of the world that we grew up in. We grew up with 5,500 RPM V8s that were just big dog turd slugger V8s in our American cars. This thing is way more race car, way more F1 in its tuning. Yeah, I say F1 and I use the term loosely, but the reality is a lot of technology from F1 has trickled down into the cars like this. Driving this car, this is the first BMW that really has reminded me of the E30 M3, the first generation, that was just so pure and so fun to drive. This car, through the corners, is super level. You can give it a little throttle and it gives you that response in the corner. If you push it too hard, I'm sure it'll step out. Again, like I write and like I say in my blogs, I try not to abuse the privilege I've been given to drive these cars. I'm very lucky and I'm very blessed to have that privilege. So I try not to abuse it. I try not to race or drive fast or drive like an idiot, because reality is I don't want to pay for it, whether it be a ticket or my job or balling up a car and making bad decisions. So I've got a lot on the line. I try not to do anything stupid. But with that said, I can tell you this car definitely has a ton of power. It's extremely fun to drive. The interior is nice. Yeah, I mean, you're merging on the freeway and you give it a little bit of gas, it responds. It's really, really nimble in the hands, but the steering wheel is perfect. It's a nice thick rim. The gear shifter just snicks back and forth like clockwork. It's a well-oiled machine. Really cool. I hope you guys enjoy this drive time. I'm sure enjoying this M3 that I get to drive today. Any questions, hit me up or check me out on Twitter at _Dennis_King on Twitter or on my Facebook page. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.